Imagine being on a Boeing 777, one of the world's largest passenger aircraft. While you're comfortably sitting in your seat, having just woken up, you hear the captain's voice over the PA system, announcing that you'll be landing in San Francisco International Airport shortly. He gives you the weather description, and after a minute, you feel a jolt. Followed by that, you feel another jolt. The next thing you know, you hear passengers all around you screaming, and you smell fire. You look up, and the roof is gone. You are seemingly stuck in your seat, and you're disoriented and thrown into a state of shock. Now, what you've just experienced is one of the worst crashes of the century. Asiana Airlines Flight 214, which crash landed at the San Francisco International Airport. And luckily for you, you're not one of the 3 casualties out of the entire 307 passengers on board that flight. That being said, the fact that you are alive may have to do with the bravery and the composure of the flight attendants on board, who instruct you on what to do and where to go. The heroes of that day are all too often overlooked on a day-to-day basis, but I am here to let you know that flight attendants are much more than meets the eye. Today, I want to inform you about the job of flight attendant. So the next time you get on your flight, instead of boarding the plane and hearing the flight attendant say hello, welcome aboard for the 132nd time, you'll look at them and think, so this is a person who might save my life, and to understand the flight attendant are a more important part of your landing and your taking off safely. Now, according to an omnibus household survey conducted on the behalf of the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, it is estimated that 1 out of every 3 U.S. adult residents have flown on a commercial airline, which shows that a large percentage of Americans have flown on a commercial airline. In addition to that, they have encountered flight attendants, which are required to be on an airline in the United States by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. Flight attendants are often overlooked and seen as servers on an airplane, but there is much more to them than that. In the case of an emergency, they are the ones who you look to for guidance. I am going to go over you the job of a flight attendant and what their training entails. In addition to that, I'm going to let you in on a story of a flight attendant who saved a life, maybe even more than one. Now, you have to be asking yourself, what is the job of a flight attendant? Flight attendants are required to be on board all commercial aircraft to ensure the safety of passengers, and the aircraft itself is prepared to take on any emergency situations. The Federal Aviation Administration requires any airplane with a maximum payload of more than 7,500 pounds and a seating capacity of more than 9 people to have at least 1 flight attendant on board. In addition to this, flight attendants are required to go through FAA certified training course that can last anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. These courses teach flight attendants to perform CPR, become familiar with decompression, and become alert to anything that might harm the aircraft or the passengers on board. After the initial in-flight training, flight attendants must have an annual recurrent training in order to update them and keep this information fresh to them. Once again, flight attendants are required by the FAA to go through tedious and extraneous training in order to guarantee the safety of the flying public. This should separate the job of a flight attendant from an ordinary passenger flying with you on a plane. You may hear this information and wonder why flight attendants actually have been called upon to use their skills that they are trained. Throughout the short history of airborne transportation, there have been many notable incidents where the flying public has threatened flight attendants and have often played a big role in the safety of passengers and the crew affected. One incident occurred in 1990. British Airways Flight 5390, the cockpit window failed and ruptured, causing the pressure to suck the captain out of the window, only holding on with his knees to the control panel. Now, had it not been for the flight attendant on board, who subjected himself to the exact same destiny that the captain was likely going to face, he grabbed onto his legs and held onto him until the plane safely landed again. The flight attendant suffered a dislocated shoulder and frostbite to his eye. Now, obviously the flight attendant training pays off because that flight attendant had the courage to grab the life of another person and hold on to them and risk his own self. Flight attendants may not always be called upon to act courageously and use their skills learned in training, but in these rare occurrences, passengers should be happy to know that their flight attendants have been tested thoroughly to ensure their safety. Now that I have spoken to you about the training and incidents in which flight attendants are involved, I'd like to go over what we have spoken about again. I've spoken to you about the job of a flight attendant, what their training entails, and I've told you a story of a courageous flight attendant who used his training to save a life. Now, I hope that you take this information and begin to see flight attendants in a different light, because they might be the only person who can save you in a disaster on board an airplane. So now you can look at the extremely low amount of deaths on Asiana Airlines Flight 204, which I explained to you earlier, and realize that a lot of that had to do with the courage and the expertise of the highly trained flight attendants on board. And I hope that you will understand that what they say and what they are telling you truly is important.